All right, friends, Peggy Hall back with you from the healthyamerican.org. A question that I'm getting a lot these days is, Peggy, is donated blood still safe? What about people that are no longer purebloods? What about those that are human pincushions? What about those that are carrying other diseases? You've told me that you're terrified about having to undergo a blood transfusion. And I know that there are a lot of terrifying stories that are floating around on the internet as well. So the FDA recently came out with a few changes. I'm going to share with you some good news about what you can do if you are concerned about staying a pure blood and what happens if you need to get blood. All right. Before I do that, I want to thank the sponsor of this afternoon's video, and I want to thank all of you who appreciate the sponsor messages. As you know, I bring this information to you free of charge, and the sponsor sees value in my message and they want me to bring their message to you. So if you feel like you can't sleep well, you're not alone. A recent survey reveals an estimated 164 million Americans struggle to get a good night's sleep at least once a week. Poor sleep may be one of the most ignored urgent issues of our time. And that's why tens of thousands of Americans are turning to this amazing new sleep supplement, which you can find at soundsleepwithpeggy.com. It holds the 7 key nutrients to support deep, refreshing, and restorative sleep. That sounds so good. It also helps to create a calm and peaceful state of mind during the day. In every serving, your body will be fueled with the 7 premium research-based nutrients to support the deep sleep that your body craves. I want you to get your order for up to 51% off, plus receive several free bonuses. And I want you to get that before their half off sale ends. So you can go to soundsleepwithpeggy.com. You can also click the description, the link that I'll have for you in the description box below. A reminder that if on your phone, just click that little more word and it will open it up and you can find that link for soundsleepwithpeggy.com. Friends, a lot of you are concerned about the blood supply, how to keep it pure, and how to make sure that those who are the human pincushions are not going to be tainting that blood supply. Let me know if you have ever had a blood transfusion, if you know someone that has, if you anticipate any medical procedures. I know that for many people, their concern is an emergency. So I want to help you with some options, okay? First of all, we're going to hop right on over to, let me grab this. Here is the FDA page, and it says keeping blood transfusions safe, the FDA's multi-layered protections for donated blood. Now, this was a couple of years ago, but I do have an updated page, which we're going to see in just a moment. I liked this one because it summarized what the FDA does. So they do donor screening. That means they ask questions of donors. Now, of course, we don't know if they're going to be telling the truth or not. And they have been asking questions about a person's, how do I put it, sexual encounters, because there are certain concerns that the FDA and others have related to receiving blood from people that are engaged in, I don't know how to be delicate here. I think you know what I'm saying. They also test the blood. Oh, they'll also screen donors in terms of, have you had any illness? Have you been overseas? Do you use drugs? That kind of thing. They also will quarantine the blood itself to make sure that before they test it, that there's nothing wrong with it. And then here it is, they talk about it. And then they will also take care of the problems and deficiencies. So they screen the donors by asking them questions about potential risks and so forth. And then they actually test the blood. It says that the FDA reviews and approves all test kits used to detect infectious diseases in donated blood. Guess what tests they don't use for the donated blood? I'm going to show that to you in just a moment. I find that very, very telling. They test for hepatitis B and C, for HIV. Oh, that's a topic for another day. Yes, it kind of falls into the cooties category in terms of, does it exist or does it not? I think you know the answer. Okay, West Nile virus and all these other things that they come up with. They quarantine the blood. Donated blood must be quarantined until it is tested and shown to be free of infectious agents. Very interesting. I've never had a blood transfusion. Now, this was a year ago, and I know there's also an additional updated one, but not related to cooties, related to, as I say, the sexual preferences of people. I'll just put it that way. I like to be a little delicate on this show. So here, I thought this was very, very interesting. The FDA does not recommend using cooties laboratory test to screen routine blood donors. Why not? If you have to have a test in order to go to work, but you don't have to have a test in order to donate blood, that is very, very troubling to me. The blood establishment's responsible physician, meaning wherever you are donating that blood, must evaluate the prospective donors and determine their eligibility. And this is all guided by law or regulations. The donor must be in good health and meet all donor eligibility criteria on the day of donation. I am going to tell you my donating blood story in just a moment. I remember I want to share that with you. So here we go. Individuals diagnosed with cooties or who are suspected of having cooties, who have had symptomatic disease, they should refrain from donating blood for at least 10 days after complete resolution of symptoms. Now, that may not bother you as much as the pincushion status. Individuals who have had a positive diagnostic test but never developed symptoms should also refrain for at least 10 days. Again, how does any of this get tested? It seems like it is just, again, I'm not saying I go along with the whole cooties thing here. I'm just saying what the FDA states, and it seems like it would be very, here we are. Individuals who received a non-replicating inactivated or mRNA cocktail can donate blood without a waiting period. How do you like them apples? Them are pretty rotten apples. Here we go. Individuals who received a live attenuated viral cocktail should refrain from donating blood for a short waiting period, for example, 14 days after getting the cocktail. Individuals who are uncertain about which cocktail they got should refrain from donating for 14 days. All right, let me just stop right there. I mean, that I know is troubling to many of you as it is to me. Before I go on and give you an option that could help you in certain situations, let me tell you the story of when I donated blood. My dad, may he rest in peace, let me just say he was a victim of the mainstream medical tyranny. I'll put it that way. I talked about that in previous videos. I'm not going to go into it here, but after his open heart surgery, and I was, of course, beside myself with worry and concern and all of that. And it dawned on me in the hospital that they had a place where you could donate blood. And I felt like this is something that I can do for my dad, I can do for others. I felt very emotional about it. And I'm going to go donate this blood. So I went down there and they drew my blood and they said, you have low iron. We're not going to take your blood. And I'm like, low iron, what in the world? Well, when women at that time of my life during certain times of the month may have low iron because of their physical condition. And so after several days, I decided to try again to see if my iron levels were back up. And sure enough, they were. And I donated blood, which I really didn't realize what that was going to entail. Again, I did it sort of from an emotional response. Let me know if any of you donate blood occasionally or regularly. And I mean, they took a lot of blood and I was so lightheaded and woozy after that. And remember, they had denied me previously, but I just felt such an emotional need to do something that's what I did. And after that, I ended up 10 days on the sofa. I was so wiped out. I had no energy. I was completely like, I needed that blood that I donated. And from that day, the truth is I've never donated blood again. It was such a very difficult experience for me physically that I just thought this is not something that I'm going to participate in again. So I actually haven't. But here's what I want to share with you, information that I came across. So I also did a little digging around in Southern California, and here's the information I wanted to share with you. So here we go. This is in San Diego, the San Diego Blood Bank. I wanted to see what was going on and what different blood banks were promoting. This was updated, what is this, about 6 months ago. Appointments are encouraged. Walk-ins welcome. Donate blood today. This is the most updated info I could find here. So we are temporarily deferring blood donors that have traveled outside the U.S. in the last 10 days, except to Baja, Mexico. Okay, why? Baja, Mexico gets well, San Diego's right next to Baja, Mexico, but that gets a pass. Okay. As of October 1st, 2022, based on the CDC's latest guidance, remember, guidance is not a law, San Diego Blood Bank does not require staff, volunteers, blood donors, vendors, contractors, and visitors to suffocate themselves inside its facilities or while donating blood. Well, that sounds like a step in the right direction. Those who may wish to suffocate may do so freely. Oh, now you're all in favor of freedom of choice. I see. All righty. Here we go. If you have seasonal allergies, please donate when you're not experiencing symptoms. We are currently deferring anyone with symptoms shared with cooties. And then if anyone cared for, lived with, or otherwise had close contact with anyone having cooties, they are deferred 10 days. And then all blood donors who have been diagnosed or are suspected of having cooties are deferred for 10 days after the symptoms are resolved. The following cocktails are permitted without a deferral period. Here you go. No deferral period. Now, I'm not one that likes to live in fear or dread, but that's very concerning to me. I want to keep my body pure. So here is the remedy. Are you ready, everybody? Let me know if you already knew of this or heard of this, or you have already done this. This applies to those of you that are going in for a medical procedure. And let's say that you are signing all of your paperwork and you are asked whether or not you approve of a blood transfusion. First of all, you can deny it. You do not have to allow, I can't vouch for whether they're going to follow your orders or not, but you do not have to allow for a blood transfusion. There are probably people among us that would rather expire and meet their maker rather than have someone else's blood put into their body, especially these days. So keep in mind, you have the right of refusal of a blood transfusion in terms of going in for a type of procedure. So let's take a look at what they've got here, shall we? I'm looking at autologous, which means it is from you donations. This is your self-donation, and this is from the American Red Cross. I only chose, whoops, I'm sorry, everybody. Let me get that back up for you. I don't know what happened. Where did everything go? All right, let me find that again. The only reason I'm going on the American Red Cross is because this had the information about donating your own blood. I've done videos about the American Red Cross. I was an American Red Cross lifeguard certified. I got certified with my CPR with the American Red Cross. I got certified as a swimming instructor. They have a lot of great programs, but the overall administration and some other things are very, very curious. And I recommend that you dig deeper if you are interested at all. And I certainly didn't like the way that they treated the nurses when they were going for their religious exemptions, although it did get resolved and the law was followed, but it was very, very oppressive, tyrannical, discriminatory, hostile, and harassing. I'll just put it that way. But let's take a look at what they are telling us about donating your own blood. It can be done. Now, I'm not giving any medical advice. I'm not giving any legal advice. I'm simply directing you to this information that I uncovered, and I thought it was very, very interesting. I don't know if you can hang on to it forever, keep it in your freezer or something, but here you go. It says that these self-donations require a Red Cross Special Collections Order form signed by your physician, which serves as a prescription for this service. The order must be received by the Red Cross several weeks prior to your anticipated need. So this is where it says if you are in reasonably good health, you will not be allowed to self-donate if you have an active infection, and you may not be allowed if you have a heart condition. I wonder how they define that these days. There's no age limitation, but you must weigh at least 110 pounds. Unless otherwise directed by a physician, you may safely donate blood every 4 to 7 days before your surgery if you meet the donation guidelines. Wow, that is amazing. Many physicians prefer patients not have the autologous donation within 7 days of surgery, I guess because they want your own blood levels to be back up. your own blood volume. Tylenol, aspirin, and alcohol should be avoided for 48 hours before your donation. And of course, I'm sure if you're on blood thinners and all of that has something to do with it, because here you go, your hemoglobin, which is your iron levels, will be checked and must be at a satisfactory level before donating, or you will not be allowed to donate. That means you need your own blood in your body, as what happened to me as an example. I should not have donated. It did not serve me at all. A physician may prescribe iron supplements to prevent you from testing too low, especially if you have been anemic or are making more than one donation. If blood loss during your surgery is less than anticipated, transfusing your donated blood may not be medically necessary. If it is not used during surgery, it is discarded, since current safety standards do not allow its transfusion to other patients. I thought that was really, really interesting. I don't know that I agree with that. So, it says that these directed donations where you do your own blood for yourself, or compatible family members or friends may donate blood. So that means, a directed donation is someone else is donating for you. The autologous is where you're donating for yourself. A family member or a friend can donate blood for your upcoming procedure. And again, it has to go through this special collections order. You have to have an order from your physician in order to collect the blood. And it does say, this is according to the Red Cross, there is no evidence that patients can select safer donors than the volunteer blood donor system provides. Do you agree with that? Do you think that statement is accurate? All donated blood products are tested with the same test for HIV and other infectious diseases. Do you think that includes cooties, whether or not it exists, which further enhances the safety of the blood supply? Social pressure associated with directed donations may compromise the reliability of the donor's answers to health history questions, meaning if you have a friend going, they may say, oh no, I've never done drugs and heterosexual or whatever. Other questions are being asked these days to screen out those potential donors. And I don't know that I agree with this either, but they are stating that. The Red Cross accepts both directed and regular donations and encourages eligible donors to give blood for patients in need. So that's what I have for you, friends. Many of you were asking about this, and I think there might have been the only other information I got about blood donations. I'm looking this up right here from the FDA. Here we go. What's interesting to me is that this didn't have anything to do with cooties at all. It all has to do with sexual preferences. So the FDA news release, I'll just show it to you and I can leave a link for you, but I'm not going to talk about it here on this channel. It's not what I focus on in terms of those things. But what I want to show you is this came out just a couple of days ago. Here we are, January 27th. FDA proposes individual risk assessment for blood donations while continuing to safeguard U.S. blood supply. There's the headline. I will leave a link for you. But what it goes on to say is that it is all about screening individuals related to their sexual preferences. And it gets very, very detailed in terms of all the things that go on. I really don't even want to expose my mind to those things. So I certainly don't want to expose you to it either. But there's nothing here. It has all to do with HIV. There's nothing here. HIV. There's nothing here at all to do with cooties. I found that very, very interesting. So I hope that brings you some peace of mind, friends. My hope and prayer is that you will not need a blood transfusion and that your own blood will be full of hemoglobin and at the optimal iron levels, and that you will remain healthy and happy and thriving. That is my prayer for you. And, you know, I have my 3 remedies basically for anything. And that is, those include connection, education, and action. I strive to serve that and provide that for you on this channel. We're connected with each other. We can share resources and be educated. We can take action in ways that make sense for us. I just did a video prior to this telling you about my legal action. I gave the entire summary, start to finish, of what has happened over these last couple of years. Actually, it's going on 3 years if you count the emergency that was called in the county of Orange at the end of February. So we're coming right up on that. It will be 3 years from the start of that emergency that I am, the court case is still going forward nearly 2 years later for them to review the darn conditions that don't exist. That's why they don't want to do it. So anyhow, I did a whole video on that, and I took action in a way that made sense for me. I don't know that I would do it again. I'm glad that I did it. I said that I was going to do it. I'm a person of my word. I can stand in dignity and integrity and self-respect. I'm serving God. I followed his direction in my life. I prayed about what to do. And so for me in my life, and I hope for you in your life, that you will find people that you can surround yourself with, like our lovely Healthy Americans here. By the way, let me share this with you before I sign off. I get so many, I shared in the previous video, bins and bins and bins of thousands and thousands of letters and cards and notes and goodies from Healthy Americans that you have sent to me over all these years. And this lovely goodie box, I'm going to kind of do an unboxing for you here. I have so many wonderful items. This came from lovely Emily. You know, I wasn't feeling very well at the beginning of the year, and she sent me this lovely card sending get well prayers to you. And she says, we are praying for you. The Buford family, the Seventh-day Adventist Church. She said, Peggy, you have helped me so much over the past 2.5 years. I'm sorry you've been having health issues. I'm praying that they resolve quickly. And they have, thanks to all of your prayers and the holistic healing modalities that I participated in. I am feeling really, really on the road to recovery. She said, may God bless you and your work. She said, I'm sending you a sunshine box, which is a part of our community outreach ministry of our church. We hope that it brightens your day. And I really appreciate this so much. Marla is the women's ministry leader, and this entire box full of all sorts of goodies, a beautiful candle and soap, and everything came in this lovely sunshiny yellow wrapping. And of course, I love this, right? A smile always helps everything. How about this? Positive energy. Yes, I think this is going to be my favorite mug here. I absolutely love it. I strive to be an example of that. A beautiful scripture framed here. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Oh, that really sums it up right there. All sorts of goodies, nail polish and a journal, a little scrubby, beautiful. Oh, I like this. I've got my bath soap and beautiful facial wipes. I've got lip balm here, everything bright and sunshiny. Another lovely good vibes. Look at the colors, go so well. All of my happy colors. And then a beautiful, oh, there's so many things in here. It just is overflowing. A beautiful, beautiful journal. That's one thing that I do to help myself keep on track is I journal my thoughts, my emotions, my feelings, my goals, my desires, my dreams, my regrets, my past, my future. I love to journal, and this is just absolutely so adorable. Friends, I think there's so much more. It goes on and on and on. Friends, I thank you for all of your gifts, your prayers, your encouragement. That's part of that connection. That's part of sticking together. And I pray that here at the Healthy American, I can inspire, encourage, and empower you to keep going. I did a video yesterday on my other channel, Living Swell, called How to Keep Going. I've got a link to that channel below. Please subscribe there as well. I'd love to take a break weekly from all of the hogwash. We talk a little bit about current events, but it's more about tools and tips and resources, remedies, strategies, solutions for persevering in life and getting through the stormy seas. So thank you everybody for being on board. I will be back with you tomorrow, and always over at thehealthyamerican.org. Be sure you're on the free newsletter and the free Substack. The newsletter contains links to the previous videos and a few comments, but the Substack has detailed written articles, my analysis on breaking news and a lot of the hogwash that's going on. So be sure you get that as well. Everything is in the description.